she's a member of the Left Party or the Left Group in the European Parliament. And then we also have Nikolaj Villumsen, who comes from the Danish party Enhedslisten, and he's also a member of the Left Group in the European Parliament. And they've both had some experiences with the background of the initiative from the Commission, and are following the proposal, both of them. And first, Leila will tell a little bit about what is platform work, from where is the initiative coming, also what does the initiative from the European Commission consist of, and what are the criticisms about this initiative, and how has France reacted to the initiative. And we will try and keep it to 10 minutes, whereafter Nikolaj Villumsen will also take 10 minutes. And I would like us to try and keep it to those 10 minutes to start with, so we can have lots of room for questions from the participants afterwards. So first we'll have Leila, then Nikolaj, and then we'll open up for questions from the participants. And those are very, very welcome, because we're here for your sake. So please do ask questions. And also, of course, I also have questions if there are no one from the participants, but please do ask questions. And as Morten explained, write them to Morten, and he will allow you to ask them in question, or he will also read them up for you if you prefer that. But first of all, hello, Leila, and thank you for taking the time to meet us.
Hello, thank you very much, Michael. Thank you very much to the DEO for this this invitation. I will try to keep it in 10 minutes. If it's not the case, don't hesitate to tell me to stop, but I will try to do it. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to discuss such an important topic, especially with my colleague Nikolaj Villumsen. We work a lot together in the Ample committee, and we've done a great job on this proposal of directive. As you said, the 9th of December 2021 has been when the European Commission published a proposal for a directive about platform worker. It has been a big victory since my point of view, and this is the result of 2 years of fight, and it's a big victory for platform workers. I would like to start with a short reminder of what platform work is and what is the issue with it. Drivers who are working for Uber, or riders who are working for Deliveroo. I think you have this platform, delivery platform, also in Denmark, or Volt, for example. They are considered as self-employed. Platform argues that they are only an intermediary between a worker, a self-employed worker, and a client. But when you look at the reality, it's very different. They are not at all only an intermediary. Platform decide with the help of an algorithm. They decide who will have to do which ride, how much the workers will be paid, platform rank, workers, etc., etc. And platform have, in reality, a subordination link on their worker. And as bogus self-employed, they are bogus self-employed, riders, drivers. They don't have access to social security. They cannot access to collective bargaining because they are considered as self-employed. And this issue is present in the whole European Union, in all the member states of the European Union. Even if we have different social model, even if we have different labor law, everywhere we have the same issue of the bogus self-employment of a platform worker. So that's why it was important to have a European answer to this European issue. And since the beginning of the mandate, we have been working hard with my group, the Left in the European Parliament, and with the great support of Nikolaj, as I've said, to give these workers the same rights as any other workers. This is the issue, to give them the same right as any other workers all over Europe. The European Commission made a proposal of directive in December, last 9th of December, and the proposal contained two main measures. First, the presumption of employment relationship, and also, on the other side, the reversal of the burden of the proof. This is very important for platform workers' rights. I will come back to it. Some aspects need to be improved, but it's not so usual that the European Commission shows such an ambition regarding workers' rights, and it's worth to underline it. So this proposal doesn't come out of the blue. First of all, the European Parliament voted in favor of an ambitious report on platform workers' rights in September 2021. I was in charge of the negotiation on this report for my political group, and we managed to build a broad coalition until the right wing. We already requested the European Commission to include the presumption of employment relationship. This good news is also, and this is very important, I think this is the main point, it is the result of the strong mobilization of platform workers on the ground. Drivers and riders, they came regularly in Brussels to show and to tell their expectation to the European Commission. Last October, so just before the Commission's announcement about platform workers, more than 100 workers from more than 18 countries gathered in Brussels, and their work and their pressure allowed them to be stronger than digital platform lobbies. I like to say that we've managed to have this directive because we've built a kind of workers' lobby. As you know, lobbies are very strong in Brussels, Uber, the lobby from Uber, but we managed to build an alternative lobby, and that's how we managed to have this victory. And finally, the decision in the big majority of the Court of Justice from all over the EU say that platform workers should be employees. This has been something important. Everything, all of this, put a strong pressure on the Commission, which led to this success. Alors, of course, everything is not perfect, and we still have room for improvement. We will fight in the European Parliament to strengthen this directive. But regarding the short time available, I will just look deeper into one point, which is the biggest issue in my eyes. This is the issue of the criteria linked to the presumption of employment relationship. What does it mean? Alors, the presumption of an employment relationship means that the Commission says that workers are employees and should have the same right as any employee. How will it work? The Commission proposed to provide a list of five criteria to determine if the platform worker, if the platform is an employer, and if the platform meets two of these criteria, the presumption shall apply. The five criteria, it's which says that you have a link of subordination. First criteria of the link of subordination, you cannot determine your remuneration. You have binding rules on appearance, for instance. You need to wear something with a jacket of Deliveroo, for example. You have the supervision of the performance of work. You have sanction with the algorithm. The algorithm can sanction you. You have the restriction of the possibility to build a client base. You cannot speak to your client. And what say the European Commission? If you have two of these five criteria, you depend on a presumption you depend on the employment relationship. You are considered as employee. This is since regarding the numbers from the Commission, 4 million of workers in Europe are going to be concerned since the directive is adopted. Of course, we will fight in the European Parliament in order to reduce the number of criteria, in order to extend the workers concerned by the directive. But I would like finally to say a few words of the French presidency, since it's a hot topic. We received Emmanuel Macron, President of France, this week in Strasbourg, because France has the presidency of the Council of the European Union during the first semester 2022, and unfortunately, it doesn't raise many hopes, since the President Macron is strongly against the presumption of unemployment relationships. This is the main adversary of the presumption of employment relationship, and the measures he takes on the national scene go at the opposite of what the European Commission is asking. Instead, he sees, with the topic of platform work, he sees that there is a possibility to break the employment status and our social model, and he doesn't really pay attention to workers' rights since he has been elected 5 years ago. So we will remain vigilant that the directive will not be watered down in the council which represents the member states, and we will be vigilant. We will work hard to make it more ambitious in the European Parliament. Thank you for your attention. I'm looking forward to answering your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Leila. And you touched upon so many interesting points that I will return to also after Nikolaj gets done, because it seems to be a very interesting process forward, both what happens in the European Parliament and also if it gets watered down very much in the Council. So thank you very much for now. And now Nikolaj Villumsen has promised also to take us into the Danish context a little bit, and also say a few words about how, if it affects the Danish model, and what are platform workers in the Danish context. And we can, and I'm looking very much forward to that. So welcome, Nikolaj, and I'm very happy that you can join us today also.
Thank you so much, Michael, and thank you to Deo for organizing this important debate, and for all of you to be here, and also Leila, for you to spend time, even though there's a French presidential election, and you and me met 2 days ago in Strasbourg, and the session stopped yesterday. So I really appreciate that you also take time to interact here in the Danish debate on the platform initiative, and with all the knowledge and that you clearly have as one of the negotiators and core fighters on this issue in the European Parliament. So pleasure to be here. First, I would say that I think that we have a huge problem, honestly, in Denmark with lack of rights for workers working on platforms. So this is not a situation where Denmark is not facing problems and other European countries have problems. We clearly have problems. Of course, there are good examples in Denmark on how we have dealt with platform companies like Uber that have stopped personal transport in Denmark after there was a change in the taxi law, and we also have seen a very important collective agreement being made between 3F and Just Eat. So now there is a collective agreement for food delivery in Denmark, and I think that is a huge step forward. But having said that, it's clear that we have problems with Volt workers that are not getting. We have new companies coming up in this field with the Gorillas and other companies popping up all the time. We do not have Deliveroo that is big in many other countries, but we have other companies, and we have also the big debate about Nemlig.com, where there is a conflict going on with 3F currently. So this is in no way not a problem in Denmark. It is a huge problem, and I think that it's also important to be aware that the problem of local self-employed or falske selvstændige, as we call it in Denmark, is huge. And it's not only in the area of transport that we're seeing the problems, we're also seeing it in the construction sectors, and we are actually even also seeing it with academic workers that are told to be solo self-employed in order to get a job, and thereby also losing their workers' rights. And what we're basically seeing is that we're seeing companies, often multinational companies, that are using loopholes in order to avoid that they have to give the workers the right to organize, to have the gear they need. They perhaps need to buy the bicycle themselves, or they don't have the health and safety regulation do not cover them. They do not have the right to sick leave, or do not get pension. So basically, it is a huge step backwards. It's not something new. It's more that we return to day labor conditions that we have seen in previous times, and with the excuse that they're using an app. So this is so this is a huge problem, and I think also we need to be aware that the limit to what part of our labor market that can be organized with bogus self-employed, falske selvstændige, working for companies through an algorithm and an app. I think only like the imagination puts a limit to that, and there are clearly very creative employers and companies and lawyers that will exploit that loophole. So also in the context of the battle that is going on, we have seen a very big lobby from the platform industry trying to introduce a so-called third category. So you're not a worker, you're not self-employed, you are a third category, and this luckily is not the proposal of the Commission, but just to say that if we lose this battle and there is introduced a third category or loopholes in the legislation, there will clearly be a huge exploitation of this in a general labor market. So this is a core discussion for the future of our labor market model in all European countries, but also in Denmark. And I really believe that there is a need for legislation. This is a cross-border issue where we see that it's estimated that 1/3 of the platform work being done today is done cross-border. We see that it's often colleagues coming from other European countries and even coming from third countries, like people from Argentina driving food delivery around in Denmark. So it is a cross-border issue, and we're dealing with multinational companies that are exploiting loopholes and differences in legislation. So this is a place where even I agree that there should be put forward a proposal for a directive from the Commission, as has been done. And anyways, if one disagree with my position there, then the proposal is there, and we need to make it as good as possible, because if this struggle ends up bad, then it can have huge consequences for the labor market and the future also in Denmark. I think that it's not a surprise for me and Leila, but perhaps it is for you who don't know us as well, that we very much agree on this issue. I do agree that it is a good proposal coming from the Commission, and it's clear that the trade unions, the workers on the platforms that have been fighting, and also the negotiations that Leila was leading in the Parliament, where there was a call for better protection of workers on platforms, I think have all put pressure on the Commission in order to come with a proposal that honestly, it's not often that I say anything positive about the Commission and proposals coming from them, but in this case I will, and I know that is also the general perception both of Danish trade unions and the European trade unions, but also from our left colleagues in the European Parliament. I think, of course, one can know as like what is clearly not there that could have been extremely good to have was looking into the broader problem of bogus self-employed. And like there, as I say, like if you only look at platform workers, then you're missing workers in construction, workers in large parts of our societies that have problems. So of course there is a criticism and a discussion to be continued. But of course there's also the situation that the devil is always in the detail. And as Leila rightly points out, that there will be potential problems in these categories, because it is very good to say that it's the employer's responsibility to prove that a person is not an employee, instead of the vice versa, where today an employee on a platform will have to prove that they are in fact a worker and have the right to organize and have the right to social protection and health and safety protection and all that comes with being a worker and having workers' rights. So this reversal of the proof is important, but the category, as Leila rightly points out, can be a loophole. And as you asked me, Michael, what is like the issue with the Danish labor market model that we know are special, where we do not have national legislation on minimum wage, but where we have collective bargaining, and of course it's important to make sure, and that's of course key for me, that to make sure that this directive can be used within the Danish labor market model and are not a problem to it. Basically meaning that I think a core here is to make sure that the trade unions have the right to ensure that the legislation is being upheld. That could be when a new platform company is set up in Denmark, that you don't have to wait for employees but you can investigate right away if this company is actually living up to the rules and ensuring that the workers on the platform have their rights. So there are, of course, a lot of details we should be aware of, but having legislation here is important and is good. And I think we will be facing a huge struggle just to finalize. There will be, as Leila and me, when we look into our inboxes, there's a lot of platform companies contacting us. There will be a right wing in the European Parliament that will, especially from unfortunately the Liberal group, that will fight against workers' rights on platforms. And we have member states, including the French presidency with Macron, that are not happy with the proposal of the Commission, and I will do whatever they can to water it out and avoid that we improve it. So it will be necessary to work with the Danish trade union, with the European trade union, with platform workers, with good people like Leila and others, in order to push for making sure that also people working on platforms have the workers' right that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikolaj.
1 minute more than I was allowed to.
That's okay. I would like to invite everyone to ask questions. Write to my colleague Morten, who just wrote all of you in the chat, and will arrange for you to ask questions yourself, or he can read them up if you prefer that. First of all, I would also like to ask a question to both of you. It's about the further process that you just touched upon, Nikolaj. As far as I understand, this proposal should come into effect. It will be a directive, and it has to be written into the member states' national laws, and it should come into effect around 2025, as I understand it. But can you say a little bit about the process before that in the Council and also in the European Parliament? What will happen? Will you be successful, Leila, for example, with tightening the categories, so there will only be one category you have to live up to, for example? And also in the Council, will France have success with watering it down? So I would like to ask you two that, and first you, Leila.
Yeah, so about the next steps, the European Commission published her proposal on the 9th of December, because as you know, the European Parliament doesn't have the right of initiative. We cannot write as any parliament the first draft of the legislative proposal. That's why during 2 years, a big part of our job was to make a pressure on the European Commission in order to have the best first draft. The first draft is very good, but now the European Parliament and the Council need to amend it. So the job is going to start in the Council. They are going to discuss about it, to say, for example, Macron is going to say, how can I water down the directive? I have to convince the other member states. In order to do that, you don't have to meet 2 criteria out of 5, but I want 3 criteria out of 5 or 4 criteria out of 5 criteria, and I'm going to try, she's going to try to water down even the criteria themselves. On the other side, the European Parliament, we're going to start again the work in the Ample Commission in order to, Ample Committee, sorry, in order to amend the proposal from the European Commission. So we're going to start probably in the spring, at the beginning of the spring, we're going to start the negotiation again, and to say, for example, we already know that because we work a lot with the trade union, on the opposite of Emmanuel Macron, we're going to say, okay, 2 criteria out of 5, it's not enough. We want only 1 criteria. We want, if you reach only 1 of the criteria, in order to make that there is much more employee, much more workers who are concerned by the directive. Then, at the end, the European Parliament and the Council, they have a mandate of negotiation. And so we will start the trilogue, which are the discussion between the European Parliament, the Council, and with the Commission in the middle. We can expect that during the summer, the trilogue, well, it's a bit optimistic, but we can optimistically expect that the discussion, the trilogue, start before the summer, and then that before the end of the year, 2022, the directive is adopted, and then the member states have 2 years maximum to implement it in the national law. This is my answer about the agenda.
Thank you. And do you agree, Nikolaj, more or less, or?
Yeah, but I think everything Leila said was perfectly correct. I think just to add, I would say that of course there is 2 sides to these negotiations. There is a very important issue of what is the position in the council. Here it will be interesting to see where the Danish position will be. We know that the employers' organization in Denmark are not happy with this directive, as the same case is for the employers' organization in Europe in general. And there will of course be in the Danish Parliament a discussion on what the Danish government position should be in these negotiations. So there it's very important that hopefully Leila and me are not fighting alone, but that we have the Danish government and other governments that are in the council working in our direction. And then as Leila rightly says, then in the Employment and Social Affairs Committee, the EMPL Committee, as it's called in the European Parliament, the process will also start there. Next week, we will be discussing what political group should lead these negotiations. The initiative report that Leila had been negotiating was led by the Liberal group, a colleague from Macron's party. They will clearly try to get that, I think, again, but that I expect will be challenged by other groups in order to perhaps try to have a chief negotiator that is more in favor of workers' rights. That will be an interesting battle, and then the whole battle in the European Parliament will start. So I think that from our side, we want to have a good result and also a quick result. But of course, there will be forces that do not perhaps even want the directive, that wants to work very slowly. I just heard yesterday that if you take the trade transparency directive, the French presidency have organized 3 meetings a week in the council in order to find a position and work fast, where with the platform directive, they have one meeting a month. So they are not in a big hurry on action here. And that is just one of the examples, I think, on how you can, if you're not in favor of action in favor of workers on platforms, how you can operate in the European system.
Mm. And your liberal and conservative colleagues, how are they standing?
I think Leila is clearly the expert here, because you weren't leading the negotiating on behalf of our group so far. So please.
You are muted. Yes.
Okay, is it okay? Yeah, because as you know, the negotiation about what we call the legislative report, which means to amend the proposal of the European Commission, will start in the Employment Committee, but with the same people, with the same MEP that have done the negotiation for the initiative report, the report that has been voted in September 2021, and that said that the position of the European Parliament was to have the presumption of employment relationship. And it's interesting because, as Nicolas said, the representative of Macron have the leadership, because since the beginning it was very interesting for Macron to have the report, but in order to defend the interest not of the workers, but in order to defend the interest of the lobby of the platform of Uber. And but we managed anyway, even if the rapporteur was from Macron's team, we managed to have the presumption of employment relationship, because the liberal, they are not in favor of the employment relationship, but we managed to convince, to build a broad coalition and to convince even the right wing, because what we say, we don't say that everybody needs to be employed. We just said that when you are a platform, a company, or any employer, you have to respect. Or if you want people with a link of subordination, if you want to give directive, to give to sanction people, to have them working for you, but with a link of subordination, you need to give them the labor law. You need to respect the law. Or on the other side, if you want to work with self-employed, that's what we say. We don't say that everybody needs to be employed, but if you want them to stay self-employed, just take out the link of subordination. Leave them choose their fee. Leave them choose how they want to. And even in the right wing, they understand that, and they cannot. We managed to convince them and to have the majority, because even if you are from the right wing, you cannot accept that there is company that respect the labor law and other who don't respect. This is unfair competition. And when you speak about unfair competition, even from the right wing, you speak with them. So that's how we managed to put in minority the liberals. But we expect that, yes, that it will be the same balance of power for the legislative negotiation.
Thank you. And Morten, I know that you have a few questions.
Yes, we do. We got a few questions, and let's start with Nadia.
Thank you very much, Morten. And first of all, thank you to DEO for organizing this very relevant debate on this very important topic. And second of all, I would like to congratulate Leila and Nikolaj for successfully pushing for an EU initiative to protect platform workers, which is really, really important. In 3F, we have great challenges with platform workers and other types of atypical work. We see it in the transportation and food delivery sector with Volt and Nemlig. We see it in the construction sector with the bogus self-employed. We see it on the cleaning platforms. We see it in a wide range of different sectors. So we welcome the European Commission's ambitions to improve working conditions on platform for the workers, and we're really keen to make the most of it. My question to you, Nikolaj and Leila, is that we're aware that platform workers are really challenged, but other atypical types of work and bogus self-employed are challenged as well. So is it possible to widen the scope of the directive to include other types of challenged groups of atypical work, or take other initiatives to include those types of workers? Thank you.
And let's start with you, Leila.
Okay, thank you very much for this very interesting question, because the issue of bogus self-employed, this further than platform workers is the main issue. And this proposal of directive, it's only about platform workers. But I think we need to see the thing in another way. Nikolaj was talking about the fact that we were very afraid that the proposal from the European Commission was the possibility to have a third category, a third status. And since the beginning, when Ursula von der Leyen in 2019 said, we are going to have a legislative proposal about platform workers, the platforms, they said, oh, good, it will be the opportunity to legalize what we are doing now. The use of bogus self-employed is forbidden. That's what all over Europe the judge say. The judge say you have to be reclassified when the workers go to see them. They said, oh, you're supposed to be self-employed, but you're not self-employed at all. There is a legal subordination. You have to be reclassified. And since the beginning in this history, the platform, they thought that with the legislative proposal, it will be the opportunity to legalize the situation with the third category, which would give them the possibility to have workers working for them without respecting the labor law. And for the workers, it is the disadvantage of both status, the bad part of the employment status and the bad part of the self-employed status. And for the company, it is the good part of the employment status and the good part of the self-employed status. And that's why when I said that Macron was very, very happy to work in order to have this third category, this third status. Why? Exactly because he saw that further than platform workers, if tomorrow it is okay, it is legal to have people working for you, but without assuming the labor law because they are supposed to be self-employed, tomorrow, yes, there is already a lot of bogus self-employed, but it means that tomorrow it will be spread in a much more part of the economy. I am the boss of a supermarket. What would I keep my workers with an employment status if I have the possibility to have self-employed, bogus self-employed? So we've tried to we've managed to avoid another step in the constitution of bogus self-employed economy and bogus self-employed labor world. But I think that the issue after, will be to avoid the issue is how we have to respect the fact that or you are self-employed or you are workers, respecting the labor law in the different member states. But this is the main issue, and this is the first step with that directive. But unfortunately, the scope is only for platform workers, so we will have to keep fighting in order to enlarge it and to avoid the development of bogus self-employment.
We also have a comment on the question of widening.
Yeah, just very shortly, because I agree with Leila. Of course, bogus self-employed, falske selvstændige is a huge problem, and it would have been much better that the scope had been broader, because the problem that workers on platforms are facing, not having their workers' rights because they're forced to be bogus self-employed, is something we face in other places. So of course we should try to widen the scope as much as possible in these negotiations. I think we will be challenged, and I think that there will be a big battle in order to avoid this not being watered down. But anyways, we should try to make it even better as much as possible. But I think also, Nadia, what you're pointing at is also that we have in general a problem of a loophole in the categorization of who is actually a worker. And what we could actually need was to have a general definition of of workers that or who is a worker that did not have that make sure that there were no loopholes for companies to try to exploit. This is I think an important thing to fight for. We are not first runners here in Denmark. We have a very narrow, unfortunately, definition of who is a worker. So this is where actually also European initiatives could be very welcome. So I'm not sure we will reach it in these negotiations, but I think to have the problems that platform workers are facing are unfortunately a problem that many workers are facing, and that's why a broader approach is clearly needed.
Thank you. And Morten, you have more questions?
We do. We actually got a few. That's great. The next one is Ben, who has a question concerning whether the platforms actually kind of invite the new proposal and finds it good in some way. Ben, can you elaborate on that?
Hi there. Yeah, sure. I'm Ben. I coordinate the Gig Economy project, which is a media network for gig workers in Europe. Yeah, it was just in reference to a quote by Will Shu, who is the chief executive of Deliveroo, one of the big food delivery platforms, who is, totally in favour of independent contractor status, totally against employment status for platform workers. And he was quoted in the Financial Times yesterday saying that he was positive about the proposals and that he thought that they would confirm that the majority of riders are self-employed, and he added that the member states will interpret things differently. By that, I think he means that member states will interpret things differently from the EU Commission. So I'm interested in what he's getting at there, and what Leila and Nikolaj would think about that comment.
Thank you. Let's start with you, Nikolaj, this time.
Actually, honestly, I think Leila is more
okay.
Yeah, also because Deliveroo is, yeah, please.
Okay, I'm very sorry, but I'm not sure if I have understand well the question, but I think tell me if I understand well, because the question is about how we acted the platform. Can you just say it again? Sorry, my English is not as good as Danish people.
So
English.
The question is just simply, what do you think about Will Shu, the chief executive of Deliveroo's comment yesterday, which was that he's positive about the proposals because he thinks they will confirm the majority of riders are self-employed, and that he thinks member states will interpret things differently from how the EU Commission's interpreted them in terms of employment status. So what do you think about his view of that?
So the question is that his assessment is that it will be watered down very much by the member states. So and to confirm that the majority of gig workers will actually be termed as self-employed at the end of this process. Is that correctly understood, Ben? Yeah,
we know well. We know that we've done the hardest in this legislative directive. We've done the hardest with the proposal of the Commission, but we know that until the end, the platform are going to do all what they can do in order to avoid to assume their responsibility of employer, in order to avoid to employ workers, in order to avoid the status of employer. We know, we've seen, remember in California, there have been a law, the law AB5, and the law said in California, where Uber was born, a few years ago, the law said that when you are drivers for a driver and you work with the platform needs to employ you. You need a status of workers, employment status. 2 years after, even 1 year after the law, the platform, they manage to organize a referendum in order to cancel the law. And they spend $200 million in order to cancel the law. So we know that until the end, they are going to do whatever they want in order to water down. Last night, well, not last night, but yesterday, I was in a debate in a university in Paris with the boss of Hitch, which is a kind of platform of drivers in France, like a bit like Uber, but it's a French Uber. And I was in a debate with the boss from Hitch, and he told me, oh, but you know, I've read the directive, and I think I'm not concerned at all by any of the criteria. We have to see how we interpret it. And so now we know that one of the big fights will be to make the criteria much more precise, and in order that they cannot avoid to assume their responsibility, because we know they are going to do whatever they want, and they have the help of some member states. You know, they have the help. They have Ali, for example. Macron is their friend, the friend of the platform, and he's going to help them. But on the other side, you have the position of Spain. Spain, they already have a law which makes that riders, they have the employment status. So it depends on the member states, but we know that we are going to, a big part of our job is going to make it more precise, more exact, in order that they cannot avoid to respect the directive. There is an issue with the content of the criteria and also the numbers. That's why a big part of our fight will be that it will not be only 2 criteria out of 5, which makes that you are employed, but it will be only one. And you know, sometimes when you hear the platform, they said, but our workers, they don't want to be employed, they want to stay self-employed. But the employment relationship doesn't depend on what you want. Even if I want to be self-employed, it depends of the fact of what you are, or if you have a link of subordination. And this is what make the status depends on the reality, not on what you want or what you would like to be.
Thank you very much, and that also answers another question about loopholes, I think. But Morten, we have more questions.
We do, and this one is from Jan, and it's tapping into the same issue, I guess. He asked if there is a big likelihood that platform companies will just find new ways to avoid giving their workers their rights. Nikolaj, maybe you can start out answering this question.
Yes, of course. I think the creativity of these companies, often multinational big companies, are endless, and they will of course try to find every loophole they can. And I think the question of Ben also points to that the battle has already started, and the devil will be in the detail, and nothing is of course sure because before the negotiations are finalized. And if you have weak text in the legislation, unclear text that can be open for interpretation, if you have and already now also from the Commission, they're also saying that this is not covering all platform workers with the proposal they're coming with. So that's why a strengthening is needed. And as far as I have heard, as an example, it was this introduction of 2 categories was something that came into the proposal from the Commission at the very end. So there was a battle inside the Commission on whether to have only 1 or 2 categories. So it just shows us that there are big forces, and we need very clear legislation with no loopholes, and that have broad scope and covers as should cover all and as many as possible at least. But that is the battle that will be going on. And yeah.
Thank you. And so yeah, the battle forward is a lot about the criteria, as I understand it. And as you say, Nikolaj, the devil's in the detail. And And well, that's very interesting. And I would like to find room, sorry, Morten, just to ask a question that I received from Jan. And I'm trying to make it a little shorter, but he's basically asking whether whether this is an issue for MEPs or rather an issue for unions at home in the home countries. So I would like you both to find just a short time to elaborate on that.
I think it's both. I think trade unions are already very engaged, as we have also talked about today, that you have, as an example, with the Just Eat now, a collective agreement with 3F that is quite significant if you compare to the situation in many other countries. And it's not only a collective agreement with Just Eat, but a collective agreement covering delivery workers that can be applied to other companies. So I think that is a huge step. So of course the trade union should engage, and we should be very close in contact with all trade unions, both on Danish level and French level and European level. But now the negotiations is ongoing, and that means that it is a question also for us in the European Parliament on what the position is of the European Parliament, and it is a question for the Danish Parliament and the French Parliament on what position the French and the Danish government will have. You will have it solved in your presidential elections. We will have it solved in the European Affairs Committee here in the Danish Parliament. So it's a issue for all of us as it stands at the moment.
And you also agree on this, Leila?
Yeah, I totally agree, of course. And I think if we manage to do also, I want to say that we managed to do a good job in this topic, in this issue, in this report. We managed to do a job which is in favor of the interest of the workers. That's because we've worked closely with the trade union. And you know, when I am in the negotiation, I'm even in the European Parliament. When I'm in the negotiation, when I have my amendment, I am much more. We are all much more strong. We are much stronger when it's not when we say that it's not. It doesn't come from our brain, the amendment, but it comes from what the trade union want. And when we work closely with the trade union, this is when we are much more stronger, and even stronger than the lobbies that who are like at home, because the lobby of Uber, they are like at home. But when we work with the trade union, but also with the workers, it gives us power also inside the European Parliament in the negotiation, and it has given us the power to have at the end a proposal of directive which says that we are in favor. We say that we need the presumption of employment relationship. This would have never been. This would have never existed without a closely work with the trade union at the European level, the trade union and the workers at the European level, but at all the level.
Thank you very much. And the one last question is just a quick assessment. In your most positive scenario for both of you, how many people will be positively affected by this proposal? And I'll start with you, Leila.
Well, in the European Commission has given us the number of platform workers, the number of workers who use a platform in order to work. There is 28 million of workers all over Europe who use a platform in order to have a client. Not all of them are bogus self-employed. Huh? For example, when you have a platform which only do the job of there is some of them, there is not a lot, but sometimes you have a platform. For example, I'm freelancer, I am a designer, I can use a platform in order to be connected with a client, but I am going to choose how I work, I am going to choose my price, then you are real self-employed. But the European Commission said that if tomorrow you have 2 criteria out of 5, 4 million of people all over Europe will have the same right as any worker, will be considered as employed. But I think if we do only 1 criteria out of 5, it will be much more, because as you know, this is the estimation from the European Commission, so which is not the most ambitious. So I think it could be much more than 4 million people.
Thank you.
And just to be short, the best would of course be that no one was forced to be above self-employed, and that is what we should aim for. We will most likely not get there in this specific directive, but we should, as Leila says, make sure that many more are covered by changing the directive in a good direction. But we should also be aware that there's a lot of lobbying and a lot of fight going on in order to push the other way. And just to mention one example that I have heard also in the Danish debate is that as an example, our conservative colleague has said, yeah, but you should also take care of small enterprises and startup companies, and they should not be forced to be part of this legislation. And just to give you an example, Deliveroo, anyone that goes to Brussels will see that Deliveroo is all over town, and Deliveroo is a huge delivery of food comparable to Volt that we have in Denmark. And in Belgium, I was told they only have 5 employees, so they are a small, medium enterprise. But of course, in reality, they have hundreds, if not thousands, of people working for them, but not having their workers' right protected. So it shows that you can see how easily this there can be large loophole created that will have a damaging effect.
Arne Skov wrote, Leila said it well. Employment status doesn't depend on what you want, but on facts. So I think that's also a good quote. I want to say thank you very much to you, Leila, for joining us, and thank you very much to you, Nikolaj, for joining us for this very interesting discussion, which we will follow up on because it's just starting. And all of you are invited to hit your mute button and do the famous Zoom clap. And let's start now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.